Hello, my name is Nikki. Today I wanted to make a review of the Matribirth Midwifery Institute. That was at least the name when I was enrolled. It has since been changed to the Matribirth Mentorship Institute or something of that nature. I wanted to make this review because I think it is really important that women know exactly what they are signing up for, especially at this price point. This is a very expensive program, and I'm just not seeing enough honest reviews that are balanced and, fully explaining what is going on in this program. I think a lot of women in my cohort were very, very disappointed with the content, and a lot of people just don't want to speak out about it. So, anyways, a little bit about my history with the Free Birth Society and their courses. First, I had been listening to the podcast since 2020. That is around the same time that I started birth work as a doula and my apprenticeship to become a midwife. And I did the Radical Birth Keeper School in the spring of 2022. I actually enjoyed that program. I found that it was a nice balance to the medical midwifery training that I was already taking. Definitely didn't agree with everything they taught, but overall I enjoyed the program, took what resonated with me and left what didn't. And I was in the private membership for 2 years. My expectations of MMI was a deeper dive into physiological birth. Emily and Yolanda, the teachers of the school, both talk about physiological birth quite a bit. So I was expecting to explain, exactly what that is and all of the things that make up physiological birth. More contents than I received in the Radical Birth Keeper School. I was definitely expecting more. It was kind of presented as an add-on to the Radical Birth Keeper School, and that was something I was really interested in. I enjoyed the Radical Birth Keeper School, and I just wanted more of that style of birth work training content. And I was also expecting a year-long business mentorship. That was a huge reason why I joined this program. I thought, it's a year-long program. I thought since it was marketed that there would be a business section, I was hoping that it would be 12 months of business and birth work and, all of the things. But instead it was broken up into quarters. So quarter 1 was self-mastery, quarter 2 was birth work, quarter 3 was coaching, and then quarter 4 was business. So definitely different than I was expecting, which was very, very disappointing for me. And I was also expecting this to be a program for experienced birth workers and Radical Birth Keeper School graduates. And as I got into the program, it definitely seemed like the majority of the women were brand new green birth workers with no experience, which is fine. I think we can both kind of coexist in this space, but it is definitely geared more towards women who had no experience in birth and not experienced birth workers, which was extremely disappointing to me because, of course, I already have an established birth business and had been attending births for 4 years up until this point, so I'm not a new birth worker. Their marketing said that this was the world's leading sovereign midwifery school and that this program was evidence-based. And I did not find that to be the case. So there were basically 3 main parts of this program. There was the pre-recorded videos, the live classes, and then there were also guest workshops. So I just want to share my experience with those things. I found the pre-recorded content to be very sloppy and rushed. It definitely seemed way less professional than the content we received in the RBK school, and even the content that they post on their Instagram pages. It seemed like some of the videos were just 40 minutes of absolute rambling without making any clear or concise points. Seemed like the topics we were talking about, especially at the surface level that they were being discussed at, could be summarized in 5 minutes. But instead, it seemed like the teachers were talking around a subject in circles without ever making a clear point. And I definitely felt like we didn't go as deep into these topics as I would have wanted. And there was once in one of the live classes when I asked to specifically talk more about physiological birth and anatomy and physiology of birth and pregnancy from the sovereign midwifery perspective. I requested that in one of the live classes, and the teacher scoffed at me and told me that this wasn't a medical program and that I could just Google it, which at the $12,000 price point, I thought it was kind of crazy to tell me to Google it. So more about the pre-recorded content, though. I found it extremely hard to follow since it was so rambly. And yeah, the length and the amount of videos ranged week to week, but typically I was on my computer listening to these videos for several hours, and it was just very, very draining, very time consuming, especially as a busy mom, 2 kids, running my own business. This program felt like it was consuming my whole life, watching these videos and just trying to get my money's worth. But it seemed like the amount of time I was spending on this course wasn't even worth it, because I'm watching these videos of these women not really teaching me anything and just kind of ranting. Yes, also the other thing I want to mention is everything is talked about from the perspective of German New Medicine. So if you don't believe in that version of reality, you're definitely gonna clash with the information that's being shared. So let's talk a little bit about the live classes. Each live class was 3 hours long, which felt very overwhelming. It felt a little too long. And most of it was kind of spent just answering women's questions, just kind of chit-chatting. It didn't really seem like there was a clear flow or agenda for these live classes. There was little room for nuance when we were discussing these birth topics, and it kind of just felt like an echo chamber. If there was a woman who disagreed with something that the teachers were sharing, they were kind of shut down. The guest workshops, this was probably one of my favorite parts of the program. These women used PowerPoints. I found their information to be pretty useful, and I would actually recommend the women who ran the guest workshops, I would recommend their courses over the Free Birth Society's courses, just because they seemed to have more legitimate knowledge about birth and about midwifery and about women's physiology. And yeah, after this program, it seemed very clear to me that the teachers of this program don't actually have a really, really clear grasp on women's physiology, on physiological birth, and on the nuances of birth and prenatal care and postpartum support and all of those things. I just want to say that I take complete and full responsibility for this giant financial mistake that I made by taking this program. I'm not blaming it on them. I mean, I kind of am, because I think their marketing was fraudulent. But yeah, I take full responsibility. It was a huge mistake that I made. I feel really guilty that now I have this debt kind of hanging over me. And again, that's like my own personal thing, but it was a huge reason why I wanted to make this review, because it is a lot of money to spend. And say if you're taking a legit course that's at this price point, it might be worth it if you're getting legit information, but I just feel like I didn't get any use. I don't want to say I didn't get any useful information, but I didn't get very much useful information. It was a lot of what we already talked about in the Radical Birth Keeper School, and it was just very surface level. I definitely learned more in other birth courses that I took. So, yeah, I hope this helped anyone who is considering taking any of the Free Birth Society courses.